So this whole situation with Drew Barrymore and Bill Maher bringing their shows back it's made a lot of people mad, because these hosts, and not just these hosts, but a lot of the daytime people, the late night talk show hosts, they all halted their shows when the actors went on strike, after the writers went on strike. So they're doing it from the perspective of, hey, we're in SAG, which is a Screen Actors Guild. This means that as members of SAG, we should be striking. We should not be working on these shows. Now, here's the interesting thing, though, is that when you're a host on one of these shows, are you acting or are you not acting? Because I think that is one major component to the whole situation, right? If you are an actor and you're of the Screen Actors Guild, you're not supposed to be doing the same type of work that you would be doing if there was no strike happening, right? Like, if you're, a mailman and you go on strike, you're not still supposed to be delivering mail, right? That's the same sort of like situation here, where these actors are on strike, so they're not supposed to be acting. Well, I think one could argue that these people are indeed not acting, especially someone like Stephen Colbert, who it was kind of really made a big point that with the move to CBS, he is no longer playing a character like he was when he was doing the Colbert Report on Comedy Central. But I mean, it's a very interesting topic, and some people are mad. They're saying these people are awful, these people are bad. They're reprobates, demonstrous, horrible, evil human beings for bringing their shows back, giving their cast and crew jobs in a time where the economy's awful. This cast and crew, they don't really have work, so they are, basically starting to, lose their jobs and lose their houses and various things. It's you have to consider, right from the perspective of these hosts, I'm sure that they feel responsible to a certain degree for all of these people, suffering financial hardships, even though it's not really, right? This is mostly due to the big studios, right? Not wanting to give these folks the job security and the deals that they want. It's kind of more on their end than the hosts of these shows. But I think that they probably feel some sort of responsibility to do well by their cast and crew. And for that, I sort of do laud them. But there's something that I've been thinking about, which is a possible solution for supporting your cast and supporting your crew without, bringing your show back for what I think some are calling a struck company, right? Which is a whole nother thing too, which is you're not really supposed to be doing stuff for one of the major studios as well, which I think adds another wrinkle to it, and which is why I think that when these shows go on the air, if they do go on the air, I know that Drew Barrymore decided that she's gonna wait until the strikes are over after crying on Instagram or something, but Bill Maher is gonna keep on doing his show. And it's interesting because the Writers Guild, I think, said that basically it would be a struck show, right? And Bill Maher's, Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO, that would be a struck show too. And I think the reason for that is that they're going to be working for a struck company, which would be Time Warner, basically, right? And doing the show for HBO. But, a possible solution to this came to mind. How about instead of bringing your shows back, right? Bring your shows back. And by the way, you're going to be doing this without writers anyway, so you don't need the writers. You can just do this on your own. Go out and make a podcast. That's what the late night hosts did. The late night hosts, they went and made their own podcast. It's called the Strike Force 5. It's bad, right? I tried listening to it, but it's not great. So not many people actually enjoy it, but I think it's good that they're doing it. And there's a whole other wrinkle of it too, where it's it's not for me, right? It's just not for me. Maybe it's for other people. Maybe there are people who actually enjoy the show, and they can go on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or whatever and enjoy that show, all the while supporting the cast and crew who work on all those late night shows. Bill Maher, I'm quite sure, has the ability and the know-how to pull something like this off, because he has his own podcast. He has his own video podcast called Club Random. So he could probably bring all of his old crew back to make a new podcast with them, put it on YouTube, do the similar type of roundtable discussions that he's already planning on doing on Real Time with Bill Maher, and just, bring the show back, but not really bring the show back, if you know what I mean. I feel like that would have been a far better solution that would have made fewer people upset and would have not jeopardized Bill Maher's spot. I think he's on the Screen Actors Guild, right? I could be wrong. He might not be in the Screen Actors Guild. But, I think one thing that these people have to consider too is that if you break the strike rules, you are at risk of not being allowed to be in these guilds, thus foregoing the benefits of any potential deal that gets struck, right? So that's why I think that, that's one major reason why I think that going against the strike is a major mistake. So try to do things independently. That's what I would say. I think that in the short term, that's the solution for giving these people jobs. We have YouTube. The directors aren't even on strike anymore. So writers, actors, directors could all come together, make a movie, make a show, throw it on YouTube, and use the AdSense revenue to actually make money and keep on having jobs. So I think that that's what they should do. But that's just my perspective. I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts, either in the live chat or in the comment section, about what you think. Because this is kind of like a thorny, sticky situation, right? How do you bring back a show that you quit because of a strike without breaking the strike rules, right? Like, it's an interesting dilemma.